Hello, everybody. This is Beth Worsdell, author here for Writers Rock and Writers Rock readers. And I'm actually here with a fantastic Kristin Jacques. Sorry, I did it again. Jakes. I'm sorry, Kristin. Do you know what? I'm sorry. And this is why I have to check, because when I see a name spelt that way, I always want to do it sort of French.
It's okay. I've dealt with it my entire life.
So it's Kristin Jacques. Thank you so much for joining me, my darling. I am absolutely thrilled to have you with me because I am a huge dark fantasy and horror fan. Dark fantasy especially. And you've written so many books. It's absolutely incredible. Before we talk about that, I'm just going to quickly share us, if that's all right, with the Writers Rock group and the Writers Rock readers group, so everybody can join us. Bear with me. I am getting quite nifty at this, but oh, there we go. I can see us. We are live and streaming, so bear with me 1 second. Sorry about this, Kristin.
Oh, it's fine.
Right, there we go. Let's share with that. Done. Post. And do that one. Post. Look at this. I'll tell you, I'm getting quite, it's becoming quite a ritual. Writers Rock. Post. And luckily, Wanda's made me the admin of all the groups, so I can literally just do it now. And Writers Rock Readers Group. Ta-da! We're done. Now, I've got to tell you, Kristin, I have been a massive fan of dark fantasy and horror and stuff to do with monsters. And I know that you have books that touch on all those things. The books that are, standalone and books that you've done in series and anthologies as well. I am a huge fan of people like Darren Shan, Stephen King, James Herbert. It actually blows my mind where your imagination comes from. Have you always been into like horror, monsters, and dark fantasy?
Yeah, I've always kind of gone the macabre kind of route with my writing. I've always kind of had a fascination with like the dark creatures and horror situations, though I also like to often pair horror with comedy. So like my first ever book that I wrote was like a horror comedy with zombies. And I swing either way. Like it's either horror comedy or super serious dark fantasy.
But I think that's a good thing though, because obviously there's readers that like both. Isn't there? Yeah. There are readers that love the graphic, the gore and the scariness of books. And there's, other readers who like a taste of it, but not too much where it scares them shitless. So to me, I mean, it's a smart thing because you're catering for so many different types of readers. Now, how did it all start? As a child, were you into monsters and?
Yeah, I loved watching those really freaky like 90s kids movies. Like I remember watching Return to Oz, where they had like the villain who removed her head, and she had like cases full of heads in a hallway.
I remember that.
Yeah, and like I loved Neverending Story and like all those different venues of storytelling. I was a huge Goosebumps fan as a kid growing up, and I loved all those creep me out stories, and which is hilarious because I was also totally the kid who would like hide behind their pillow during some of the scary moments or jump over the bed.
Oh my gosh! So obviously you were big into visual things.
Yes.
Did you used to read a lot of dark fantasy and horror and stuff when you was a kid as well?
Yeah, well, I read like most of the Goosebumps series and like Fear 3. Like, huge R.L. Stine fan. He was like the iconic 90s and 80s like horror writer for kids. Like almost anybody who was reading horror has read Goosebumps or some form of it during that time. And there was some really good dark sci-fi I remember reading too. But yeah, I was drawn to all of that, and it definitely carried over into adulthood.
That's fantastic. Now, are you a very visual person? Because with me, I do get inspiration from things that I see, and especially for me, it's animals. I love weird and wonderful animals. That are found in the Amazon and places like that. That look like they belong on another planet. Are you like that?
I love visuals. I love searching out dark fantasy art, especially. Like, I have so many Pinterest boards. It's a problem. Like, whenever I feel like I have a story come along, like there's another Pinterest board, here we go. Or if I have an idea, I like to search images that kind of like tease out more of that idea. Yeah. That's kind of sometimes how I build my visuals, is that I will go searching for things and like kind of be inspired by dark art and different visuals.
Yeah. Now with your stories, do they tend to come from the same place? It's just something will spark your imagination, or do you have weird dreams? Where do you get your inspiration from for all these books and stories?
It depends. Like, some of them do kind of like come out of, like, spark out of the blue. Sometimes I have like a dream that, like, I have a fragment of a scene that comes out of that. Like my book Marrow Charm, that started from a nightmare almost, with like being chased underground with one of the creatures that made it into the novel. The very, very memorable Winnow Rook, which was this combination of like crow and spider, but it was monstrous in size, and it shrieked, and it yeah,
it's just fantastic.
It made it into the novel. I've had an artist drop a rendition of it, and it's like exactly how I imagined it.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to send that to me, because I am so intrigued. It's funny because my children recommend books that they read, and they always have done. When they were young, they used to bring home books and say, "Mummy, can you read this to me?" And then when they got older and got into the teenage years, they would come home with various things, because I've got 4 children, so they're all into different things. But my eldest son is very into sci-fi. He's a huge Marvel fan like me. And he also likes good horror as well, and monsters and gore and stuff. So he brought home this Darren Shan book.
I love Darren Shan.
Oh my God. I was bloody hooked, Kristin. I think the first one I read was Demonata.
Oh, you read the Demonata. Those are the really gory ones. I started when he was doing the Cirque du Freak, the vampire ones.
Oh no, I read those afterwards, but the first book he brought home was Demonata, and I was instantly hooked. And I love the fact that his descriptions were so good. These monsters and demons just like jumped out of the page at you.
Yeah. It's very visceral reading experience.
It is. Now, when you're writing, do you find it quite easy to picture the scene and really give just enough description of your characters and monsters?
I hope so. I feel like the monsters that made it into Marrow Charm are pretty memorable. Like, some of them I had hoped that I described them enough that people can see them. It's been a constant like push and pull, because I always feel that frustration as a writer, but not an artist, that I can't always like take what I can see in my head and put it on the page. But yeah, I think some of the monsters in Marrow Charm and other works that I've done are pretty memorable.
That's absolutely fantastic. Now, you've got a copy of Marrow Charm there, haven't you?
I do.
Could we see it?
I do. Very lovely artwork on the front.
It is absolutely fantastic. Do you know what? I absolutely love it.
Yeah, my publisher, Parliament House, the cover artist is Shane Layton, and she was great working with me. Like, I really wanted her to give it this like antique tome looking appearance, and she really came through for me.
It's absolutely stunning. It really, really is. And because I'm sort of my background is sales and marketing as well. when I see something so visually stunning, I automatically visualize it on like t-shirts and hats. I can't help
Coffee
it.
mugs.
Yeah, but I think that is so cool. I could just imagine your book cover on a really cool black t-shirt or hoodie. That would be absolutely awesome. Now, how did you get to work with Parliament House? Have you done self-publishing and gone through a publisher, or have you just gone down one avenue?
I've done everything. It's one of those author's journeys that's like the mix of success and the mix of failures. I've had publishing houses implode on me like a month after my release. I've had just like some toxic relationships that I had to get out of with like a self-publishing group, and just I was really in a weird place when I queried Marrow Charm back in 2018 or so, because I had been trying to query it for a while. I was seeking at least more either small press or traditional route, and I'd been querying it for 2 years. And I was pretty much ready to shelve it and move on.
Yeah.
And I saw a call for submissions for Parliament, and I sent it in, and they made an offer to publish. So I said, okay.
Wow, that is absolutely fantastic.
And after they signed that, they also signed the rest of the series. So there's going to be 3 books total, and also a bonus novella.
That is absolutely amazing and so well deserved as well. We've got, there we go. We've got Lychee. She's joined us today. Hi, Lychee.
Hello.
Hello, darling. And I've got to apologise to her because I promised that I would send her a gift, and I haven't been able to get out of the house. So it is coming, darling. I promise you, it is coming. I've got your address written down. It's all there, ready to go. Oh, and she said, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
She's so lovely. She is absolutely wonderful. Do you know what? She's the kindest lady ever. She actually won a prize of a book of mine through another event, and she gifted it to her friend. And I thought it was so lovely. I did. Oh, she said, don't worry about it, my friend. She's so sweet. It's coming. I promise you. I promise you.
Oh, the mail system's
I'll tell you, it's I don't know about you, but I mean you must find it tough with the pandemic and everything. I don't know how much you are locked down in Connecticut, but California is just all shutting down again.
Connecticut is a weird beast, because we're that tri-state area that locked it down pretty quick with like Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much up and running again. Wow. Everyone's wearing masks, and if they don't wear masks, they get kicked out. And yeah, my husband's been working through the whole pandemic because he's a mailman.
Yeah. So necessary worker.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, bless her. She said, Kristin is a new to me author. Nice to meet you, Kristin.
Nice to meet you too.
You need to check out her books. I've looked at her reviews. They are amazing. And I mean, amazing. They are absolutely fantastic. But yeah, this whole pandemic has just put everything at a standstill. I haven't been able to send out any books. I haven't been able to receive any books yet. I ordered a load of books 3 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for them.
Yeah. I think like the hardest part for me was the library was shut down. The library is my baby.
Yeah, it really has put a mockers on anything. And I don't know how it's affected you with your publishing and you know what you have on the go.
I had to write an entire book over the pandemic and edit it, and it has been like, it is sequel hell. It is absolutely, it's like going through the 9 circles one time with every draft.
It is, and on top of that, I mean, I don't know about you, but my book cover designer is in Germany. So that's we've already got a time zone difference. Plus, with the pandemic happening and lockdown and everything else, it's just a nightmare. But we will all get there. We will all get there in the end. Now, what it really intrigues me about you, Kristin, is the fact that you literally can just turn your hand to the dark fantasy, and then you obviously you did the book Zombies versus Aliens, which I love the concept of that, because obviously I'm a big sci-fi fan. It's absolutely amazing. Now, do you find that you're attracting lots of different types of readers who, you know, love the monsters, love the dark fantasy, love the zombie side of things?
Yeah, I feel like with every story that I've written, be it on a serialized writing site or, you know, for publishing, I feel like I've been tackling like a whole bunch of different genres. Like I have the dark fantasy, I have a horror comedy, I have a paranormal comic romancy story coming out next year with vampires.
It's absolutely fantastic. I tell you, I'm so impressed. Now, do you find that your dark fantasy fans will have a try at your other books that are a bit more horror? Or
I feel like my horror comedy fans are actually more likely to jump over and read my other work than the dark fantasy fans. Though I feel like some of the people who follow my work from various platform to various platform are in it for the long haul, and they'll read all the different iterations. Like on a serialized writing site, I have like this really full-blown, like multi-layered sci-fi piece I wrote, which is a combination of a whole bunch of different genres. And it's like Cheers meets Doctor Who.
Wow. See, that would be right up my alley, because I loved Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's comedy. It's set in a multi-dimensional tavern.
Now, out of all the stories that you've written so far, if you could pick one of them to be made into a movie, which one would you go for?
I think the one that would actually be the most fun to watch on the screen would be Zombies versus Aliens.
Do you know what? Because that's the reason I asked, because when I was reading it and just the blurb had me thinking of like a really visual epic movie.
Yeah, well, it's one of those movies that you could get away with the small cast, but still do some great storytelling, because it's all set like 10 years after the zombie apocalypse. So there's not really a ton of zombies left. Or everybody's kind of in hiding or moved on to little niches, and it just follows the main crew around. So it's one of those movies you kind of get away with being economical in your storytelling methods and still have a good time.
I think it's brilliant. I honestly think it's brilliant, and I can't wait to get stuck into all your books. I still haven't even finished reading the Link by Link anthology yet, because I've just been so inundated. And that is how we got introduced, because we've both got stories in the Link by Link anthology, which is due to come out in December, which I'm super excited about, especially now I know what the cover looks like. I'm like, yes, that's it's so really cool.
Pretty, yeah.
So what was, did you keep the same sort of story theme as your other works? Is it dark fantasy for that one?
No, for the Link by Link anthology, I went in another direction entirely, and I wrote this story about cats.
Wow. So you went right off in a different direction.
And it's like a heartwarming holiday tale with perspectives of like cats. And I don't know if I can give too many spoilers, but there is a cat deity of sorts in it that kind of like answers the prayers of cats and teaches lessons to the humans who wrong them.
Oh my God, I love that concept. That is so cool. How on earth did you come up with that?
It's just an idea that I actually wrote kind of one-off a long time ago, and then I was thinking about the character and how much I would love to write an entire like story around it. So it's a bunch of interconnected stories centered around this like cat deity figure.
That's absolutely amazing. Your imagination is mind-blowing. I've got to tell you, lady, it's just Now, before the pandemic happened, were you quite active going out and, meeting readers, doing signings and stuff like that?
I would basically save up to do some of the big stuff. Like, I really loved going to BookCon, and that was like one of my really big things. I was going to go to this writing retreat in the mountains.
Oh,
I was really looking forward to that, but events are what they are.
Yeah. The nice thing is that you before obviously the pandemic hit, you were doing that sort of stuff and getting out there and everything. A lot of the people, quite a few of the authors that we've got within the Writers Rock group are fairly new authors that are, just starting out. Some of them have been writing for a good few years, but they're just really starting to put the work out there. How beneficial do you think it is for doing those types of events? The book signings and the meet and greets and everything else?
I think that it's important to learn how to put yourself out there, because honestly, the more you do it, the easier it gets. That includes doing things like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep tossing yourself at opportunities, and you got to hope for the best and learn as you go. And sometimes it gets easier, and sometimes it's still nerve-wracking.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly think it doesn't matter how many times you do something. I think it's still natural to have that little bit of nervous.
Oh yeah.
Anticipation, isn't it? And I think if you don't have that, it means you really don't give a shit.
It's numb to it all.
But as you said, it's nice to be able to do things like this and make people aware of you and just shine, really, and let your work shine, which is so easy for you, because as I said, your reviews have been absolutely amazing. Bear with me, because my doorbell, my dog's going to start barking. Now. Oh, and they didn't.
My cat is meowing outside the door, and it's really loud, and I'm glad that you can't hear it.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I've got to tell you, it's not book related, but I've got to tell you what happened last night. So my husband was watching a movie. I'm busy typing away. And next thing you know, we hear this god awful, it was an animal screaming in pain. I can't do the voice or the noise, sorry. But it was shrieking in pain. And
are you sure it wasn't a fox or something? Because there's some animals around here that they just cry out, and you're like, what's dying?
I know. Well, I must admit that was my first thought, because we get a lot of coyotes, and the coyotes make this weird sound like a wounded animal.
Yeah.
To attract cats and other animals so they can eat them. It's really clever. They'll make this really weird noise, and then you can hear it's a coyote, because they can't hold the noise for very long. But this was like nothing I'd ever heard before. It was the freakiest noise ever. Turns out my demon cat, as I now call her, had caught a tiny little baby rabbit. It was like that big.
Oh no!
It was that big, and it was this baby rabbit was screaming.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and I'm shooting up, getting my shoes on. I'm getting my torch, because I can't see nothing out there. It's pitch black. The dogs are trying to see what the heck's going on as well. So I go out there. I managed to find this little baby rabbit. Oh my god, my heart was broken, Kristin. It was so cute and tiny like that.
I know.
Anyway, luckily it hadn't been mauled to death. I think the cat had just been nudging it.
And then they freak out, and they're like, oh god, what do I do with it now?
Exactly. So I think we got there just in time. So we did a little bunny rabbit release last night, which was quite interesting.
That's cool. We have a baby turkey around our house right now, which is pretty.
Oh, really?
I've never seen a baby turkey, but apparently it really is just a smaller turkey.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. That is so cute. Like she says, how scary. It was scary. Until we knew what that sound was, it was a really quite it was really quite freaky. She says your car was trying to play with my cat.
Yeah.
My devil cat. And she's here somewhere. Oh, she's hiding I think she's hiding in shame. Yeah, she's. I mean, she's great at killing like rats and stuff like that. But yeah, not when it's cute little things like bunny rabbits. It makes me feel sad. So what are your plans? I mean, you've got, because you've done 2 big anthologies, haven't you? One is a series of 5, and one's a series of 8, which is so that was Craving Christmas and do you know what, my pen was running out? Craving.
I did the Craving anthology. Those are pure romance, which is definitely out of my wheelhouse. So that was a really interesting experience. I did Craving Christmas and Craving One Night, which are, there's like the cravings are all different themed romances.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Definitely romance is not my strong suit. So it was really hard to like make cohesive plotline in like 15K.
Well, the nice thing is just like dark fantasy and horror and and other genres, there's a whole different levels of romance, isn't there?
Yes.
Which is quite handy, because I'm not a huge romance writer myself, so it's not something that I find massively natural. But I think it's absolutely great that you are up for trying new different things that do take you out of your comfort zone. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Do you feel like every time you do something and that's out of your comfort zone, you get something out of it, you learn from it?
I mean, yeah, I really do. Like I have definitely tried some really random stuff. I tried writing for an RPG company that was like doing RPG game books. I tried doing chat fiction for someone. Like, I like to experiment with different genres and storytelling styles, because I feel like getting all those different experiences just kind of adds to your skill set as a writer. So when you have like a really wild and wacky idea, you can apply all those various skills to like make it come to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the anthologies that you've done, because I'm so impressed with how many you've done, I think it's absolutely spectacular. I really do. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Do you think that it has honed your craft and also helped put you out there for more readers to find?
Maybe a bit of both. I mean, it definitely introduces you to different audiences and different readers who, are looking for different topics. As far as craft goes, I think that writing for anthologies taught me a lot, because you have to learn how to do really tight plotting and really tight storytelling when you are in short story form. I think short stories are my first love before I became a novelist.
Really?
They're so damn difficult. There's something really satisfying with like managing to write a completed storyline and still have people who want more from it, but are also like really appreciate what you've accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're actually writing like a short story versus a full-on novel, how does your writing differ? Do you have like a different way of planning, or
it's definitely a different way of planning? Like, for one thing, like you can have really complicated short stories, but you approach the reveal of information differently. I mean, you still have to, avoid the usual things you do in novels, like info dumps. You don't want info dumps. You don't want to write yourself into a plot corner. So, like, the way you weave in world building and information into, like, a story that taps out at, like, 15K max is very different than when you have all that space that a novel gives you to world build and character build. Like, it's just very different. Like, when I write a short story, I literally have to plan it out almost by the line. Whereas with a novel, I can like put a bare bones plot down and see where the characters take me.
So are you a planner anyway, or are you more of a pantser?
I would call myself a solid plantser. because sometimes I plot, sometimes I pants. It really depends on the situation. As I said, short stories, I'm much more of a plotter. Some of the sequels, I'm much more of a plotter. Like first stories, full on pants. But once I need like to remember the details, then we get more into the plotting zone.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely spectacular. I absolutely do. Now, obviously, you're like me. You read quite a variety of different authors. Who are your most favorite authors who have inspired you the most, do you think?
It's going to maybe come as a surprise. I'm heavily inspired by Terry Pratchett.
Fantastic.
He wrote this massive series. If you've never checked it out, it's a fantasy sci-fi-esque series called the Discworld novels, which are also very satire. And they are just, it's amazing how he built this entire universe and like wove all these storylines together, and like he'll have sets of characters that he like has cohesive storylines but spread out over 40 books.
I don't know how he does it. I honestly don't know how he does it.
He's one of my literary heroes, and I think that was one of the few times I cried when an author had passed.
Yeah.
And one of my other big inspirations is Neil Gaiman. Yeah, very visual author. Also, like the pair of them, like Good Omens was like one of my favorite books as a teenager. And it was co-written by the two of them. And then another big influence is Diana Wynne Jones.
Oh.
And Tamora Pierce.
Yeah, see, I've got quite a few real favorite authors, and it's funny because I'm ultimately, even though I've written sci-fi fantasy, I never planned to. I never planned on actually writing any books, but there we go. But the books I love to read are the dark fantasy, the horror, you know, because I just devour books like that. So I think sometimes we always do surprise people when we get asked as to what we actually love to read.
We got a comment.
Oh, we have. Let's have a look.
The appropriate age for my books is anywhere from like teens to adults.
And I did notice that actually, which I think is fantastic, because there are a lot of adults out there that do love to read young adult and adult books. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, how many works do you have on the go at one time normally? Are you one of these authors that has multiple things going on, or do you just try and focus on one thing at a time?
I ended up being one of those authors that has multiple things going at the same time. Unintentionally so maybe, but yeah, everything just kind of happened as it happened. So I'm still working on like the last leg of editing stuff for the sequel to Marrow Charm, and I have edits that I'm working on for the series that comes out next year, and I have other projects that are kind of on the down low that I'm working on.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Now, obviously, you're a wife, a mum. You've got all this stuff going on as well. How do you fit in the time to do your writing and your research? Do you just try and go with the flow as to working around your family, or do you try and set specific times for being creative?
I try. Oh, sorry. I try and set times because otherwise, if I didn't make the date for myself, it might never happen.
Yeah.
The day just kind of gets away from you, and if you don't set aside time, then you kind of lose it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm absolutely with you on that, 100%. Like she says, thank you for answering her question. She was also wondering, because she has a 14-year-old granddaughter and almost a 12-year-old grandson.
I would say the 14-year-old could get away with reading Marrow Charm, but I might wait a year or two for your grandson.
There we go. Now, do you know what? I don't know whether you knew this or not, and I have mentioned it before with other authors. But Stephen King actually, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently Stephen King got into writing because he would get the worst night terrors ever. So as a sort of therapy, he would write these night terrors down. Are any of your books really based on a really horrifying, dark dream?
So there was a short story I wrote for one of the horror anthologies, which is no longer in print, but it was 13 Night Terrors or something like that. And it was about child loss and miscarriage and being haunted by the child that you lost, and as like a dark entity kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was based off of a pure night terror that I've had.
Oh my gosh. Now, was this around the time that you were having your children? What sparked it off?
No, they've both been like, they were older when this happened, like at least, I'd say this was at least 4 or 5 years ago now.
Wow.
But I still would have like really, dark dreams about that, and, dark dreams about loss. It's one of my personal fears. I come from like a home where I lost my mother very early. It's so long ago that it's something that still affects my life. But again, like I was really young when it happened, but it's definitely like something that has impacted my writing even now.
I think anything like that that happens when you are young ingrains on you, because as when we're young, we're not as equipped to deal with it emotionally.
Exactly. It's one of those things that has like shaped my entire life, and the things that I'm afraid of and the things that I'm uncertain about.
Yeah.
And definitely like she's also like a person who taught me how to read and like really inspired my love of writing. And then I lost her before I turned 8. So it's been like decades, but still impacts everything I write.
Yeah, absolutely. I can completely understand that, totally. Now, how does your family feel about you being an author and writing these fantastic books? I mean, is it just like blown their mind, or did they always knew it was going to happen?
I had a really wonderful father who very lovingly cautioned me to always have a backup plan, but I've been pursuing authorhood for as long as I can remember. I knew that's what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. I pursued it all the way through, higher education and various other like jobs and attempts. And my dad showed his support in weird ways. Because I remember like that first summer when I got home from college, and I could have like gone into the workforce and like worked a summer job. And instead my dad made me a deal that I could stay home and write the whole summer, but I had to write a full novel.
Wow. I mean, talk about encouragement. I mean, for somebody who's young as well, that's like, bring it on, challenge accepted.
Yeah. I should say his exact words. I have to put in a full day's work of writing. So, but he didn't tell me what time. So I would write from like 2 a.m. to like 10 a.m. and then sleep the rest of the day. They barely saw me all summer, but I wrote like a whole book.
That's normal teenage life, isn't it? I just had that conversation with my daughter this morning.
It was definitely a really unique opportunity. And it was like the following summer, things had changed and I didn't have that same opportunity, but that stayed with me, that level of support. And that's always been really important to me that he did that for me. And like, that was, we were not always great at communicating, but that was like how he communicated his support to me.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Like she says, bless her, she says she's so sorry about your mum.
Thank you.
Bless
As
her.
I said, it's been so long that it's really, there's no time limit, I guess, on grief, and there's some ways that I still very much mourn her. But there's also like other factors. Like I have like a wonderful stepmother who's been in my life for the past couple decades. So,
Yeah. It's strange how life works out, isn't it? And I would imagine it's probably made you cherish being a mother yourself even more than it would for most people.
It also makes me really aware of things because I was so young, and like every year that passes, I'm just kind of like grateful that I'm still there for them.
Yeah. I feel for you. I've lost a couple of friends at a young age, and it does completely change your whole way of thinking, doesn't it? And a level of appreciation. It really does. It really does. I'm sorry. I've got literally two of the dogs. I don't know if you see. Look, let me see if I can show you. Trying to steal the show.
I just had a cat invade my room, so he might come up and say hi at some point.
To be honest with you, Kristin, I'm just glad they're not dropping their guts because they both stink. No dogs that look this cute should stink that bad. I've got to tell you, it's
the law. Dogs have to smell funny.
It's just nasty, Kristin. It really is nasty. Yes, we'll play later. So what is your plans for, obviously you've got a lot going on at the moment. You've got a release coming out in November. Are you feeling a bit more confident now that obviously the pandemic's starting to ease off at your end and you're getting some level of normality?
I'm really grateful for what we've managed to do here in this area this summer. Like, with a ton of precautions and safety measures, they opened up the summer camps. So both of my kids were able to go and be out of the house and allow me to get my edits done.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the fall's going to look like, but we managed that. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I must admit, that's the one thing my daughter's finding it hard. So I've got another one nudging me now. I know. Look, oh, sorry. She wants to say hello. Pop, say hello.
Oh, it's so fuzzy.
Say hello. There you go. Yes. She's so needy. Honestly, they're all so needy. Yeah, I know exactly what I mean. My daughter's been being in California. Things have really locked down heavily here. So it's badly affected me and Abby, because we're sort of stuck in all the time, bless her, especially as she's asthmatic as well. So she's higher risk. And I just released book 3 and I wasn't able to do nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But I had to do it. I had to release it because I had so many people waiting. It's a catch-22 situation, isn't it?
Believe me, I am also feeling this because, I love the fact that my book's releasing, but it's in November and it's an election year.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you know what? On the plus side, people will want a good distraction. Yeah. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you, are you thinking about maybe doing audiobooks at some point as well?
Funny you should mention that. Marrow Charm has an audiobook that released last month.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's currently in an audiobook tour. So it's been going around making the rounds through some blogs and stuff. And I had a very lovely narrator, Amy Lynn Hornick, and she did this really great job. Like, she has this really beautiful, clear voice, and she just did a great job narrating.
That is absolutely amazing. And was that all done through Parliament Press?
Yes, we used the ACX route, and that worked really well.
That's just fantastic. It's just fantastic. And I'm just going to give our viewers a bit of information because I just found out, because doing audiobooks is something that I'm interested in doing for mine. But being on such a small budget, obviously, I was a little bit hesitant, especially because I've got 2 versions of each of my books. I've got a young adult version and a young adult version.
That's awesome.
So there's rather than just having 3 books in the series, I've got 6 because I've got 2 versions, So I'm thinking, oh my God, can I do it? But I just found out from Lindsay Whitlock, who was the author, fabulous author that I interviewed recently, that you can actually do a royalty share thing. So anybody self-published like me can literally put their books forward to be, looked at as possible.
Does she recommend the ACX route?
Yeah, and
you can do the proposal on there, and you get auditions come in. And usually if you put a call out, like I did a call on Twitter, and that's how I got some people to audition.
Now, did you do the royalty share route?
I believe so.
Yeah. Because I think that's a fantastic idea. I had no clue that Audible actually did that. I thought it was such a good thing because
it's usually arranged through the author and the publisher. That's how they do it. So I think that like it's the responsibility if you're doing self to like make sure that you kind of like have a contract set out and do that kind of thing. But
right, okay.
But it's definitely like you can do it. It's very doable.
Yeah. And I thought it was a great idea because obviously, I mean, it's a growing market, isn't it? I mean, it's increasing weekly.
Yeah.
Because more and more people being stuck at home, more and more people want to listen to something a bit more positive in the car or while they're doing their job at home or whatever.
They want the escape. Escape is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, I don't think there's anything more than relaxing than chilling out and have somebody tell you a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like going back to your childhood, isn't it?
It is. I'm a big believer in like the history of storytelling. Storytelling started as an oral tradition.
Yeah.
So, of course, like audiobooks is like a callback to that. Of course it works.
Isn't it? It's like having your librarian in your front room or in your bedroom where you can just listen. I think it's absolutely fantastic. We got some more comments. So there we go. So like she says, your pup is so cute. That was Bella, the white one. That's actually my daughter's dog, and she's a 70-pound puppy.
Wow.
Yes. She's like a bull in a china shop, but she's very cute with it. She's very cute. She says, your pups are so precious. They are. Do you know what? They are hilarious. We let them out the front last night, and they dove straight into the bushes trying to get lizards. And all you could see with their little butts sticking up and their tails wagging like crazy. And they still can't catch anything, bless them. But they like to try. They do like to try. She says, congratulations on your new release, Beth. Oh, thank you, darling. She is so lovely. She's so lovely. But, I mean, we've obviously both got a lot going on. And I'm super excited about the Link by Link anthology coming out. Because that's my first one.
Oh, yeah?
And I've got to tell you, I learned so much from doing that. And going back to what we were saying before, because I've had, with my other books, I've pretty much done everything else myself. And when I've found an editor, I've had a very, very tight budget to work with. So I haven't been able to spend thousands and, get top editors and stuff like that. But when I put forward my short story for the anthology, getting it back from Meg, from Fever Publishing, I learned so much just by the things that she suggested.
Yeah.
And the little changes she said, oh, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. That was an education in itself for me. It really, really was. What do you think is the most important lessons that you've learnt or that you wish you'd found sooner rather than later?
Oh, man.
Not that I want to put you on the spot.
I think the most important thing I learned was how to use an M-dash. I'd never even heard of it before until I started doing like actual anthologies with editors. And I was like, what is this? What is this? Why is it important to use here? So, and also probably learning how to use a semicolon.
Yeah, do you know what? Even now, I have to go back and reread to know accurately where to place them.
It's so tricky. Like, there's so many people say that English is a good and easy language to learn, and that's such a lie because it's probably one of the most complicated languages. Yeah. And the rules are so wacky.
Do you know what? I actually got put through a loop recently because when I was at school, I mean, I've not had any, apart from high school English. That's all I've had. I've had no, I've got no degrees, nothing like that. Everything I've done, I'm self-taught and I've learned how to do. And when I was in high school, it was a case of read this book and then write an essay about it. that was pretty much my English education at school.
Oh, I'm lucky with mine.
but I was told things like, you know, you must always use an before a vowel, you know, and that was the standard rule. You always, oh, you know what I mean. Anyway, so when I was writing the blurb from the back of my book, it says, this isn't a revenge battle, it's a universal intervention. And I kept wanting to put and universal intervention, but I knew it just didn't sound right. And I'm thinking, yeah, but my school teacher told me you had to, you know, because
you have to follow the rules.
You have to follow the rules. But it just, I knew it didn't sound right. But I was completely torn as to what I should do. I'm like, well, I can't put it on if it doesn't sound right. So in the end, I reached out to, I think it might have been Candace actually from Fevert. And I said, am I right or am I wrong? And she went, no, you're right. Don't put an, put a. But for a moment, it sort of threw me through a little bit of a loop. But I've since discovered Grammarly.
Hello.
Which is absolutely fantastic. Do you use any particular apps that help you?
Grammarly is a big one. I mean, that just helps like getting your drafts into query shape.
Yeah.
It's like, it's also a free tool, so why not use it?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my big one.
Yeah, I've actually just paid for the premium. Sorry, I'm having a hot flush. It's you know, time of life and all that lot. Look, I'm going to have to use one of my books to just fan myself quick. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I've just paid for the premium. And I have to say, it's actually been invaluable. It just goes to show it sometimes authors, it's worthwhile holding out for a little bit, because I got offered the premium package for a year for $75.
Yeah.
Which was a big discount. And when I saw that, I thought, yeah, I'm going to take that.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of writing tools aside from like just the writing side. There's also a whole bunch of like advertising stuff that like if you keep an eye out for it, you can get really good discounts for things like Vistaprint or Canva or all those little things you need to help make your advertising pop.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I have noticed about Vistaprint is that you can actually see me glowing. Look. Oh my God, this is what happens when you go through the menopause, I tell you.
It's a healthy shine. Just go with it like that. It's a healthy
I'm so glad you're so polite, Kristin. No woman should be like this. But yeah, Vistaprint, I've noticed that when I've ordered stuff through them, if I don't get it all in one go and I wait till right at the end, they sometimes go, oh, we've got some extra deals for you.
You've got like 50% off of this random thing that you bought.
Yeah. So there's definitely money to be saved there. Absolutely. We've got Marcy who's just joined us. Hi, Marcy.
Hello, Marcy.
Hello, darling. She's got an event on Saturday, which I'm part of. I don't know whether you'll be able to try and catch up with us on Saturday. It's multi authors, different genres and everything. And it's Christmas in July. It's going to be so much fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing a blog post for someone tomorrow that is Christmas in July. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think it's a great opportunity at the moment, isn't it? Even with the pandemic, it's given people a lot more opportunity to do more stuff online, get more comfortable with doing stuff and just being more socially active, but all on social media and everything.
I think that there is something to be said about that because, you know, the advantage to doing lots of stuff online is that it's more accessible to people and that they can access it at any time. Where that's kind of like, unfortunately, the downside of doing in-person author events is that it's harder to have that outreach that you would online. So I think it's great that more and more authors are embracing that.
Yes. And
that, you know, they're getting the chance to kind of like, put themselves out there into a different forum.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Do you know what, Kristin? You are absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait until I get a chance to read your books because, well, even more so now because I know that you're into the similar authors as me and stuff. I'm all excited to read them. And everybody who's watching, you definitely need to check out Kristin's books, and her reviews just speak for themselves. They really, really do. So you're just gonna have to get stuck in and read them. I am so grateful for you joining me today, Kristin. And I just want to let everybody know who might not be able to watch this live. If anybody wants to ask Kristin questions, please put them in the comments underneath the video. I will be sharing the video across lots of groups. So make sure you try and tag Kristin so she can get a notification of your question. And I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Like she says, there we go, comment from Lychee. She says she will look you up for sure. I have actually put all your social media underneath the video so everybody can find your website, your Amazon, your Goodreads pages, and everywhere. And you're on BookBub as well, aren't you?
I am big on BookBub.
Yes. So you can find Kristin everywhere. Marcy says, stick your head in the freezer. I am so tempted right now, Marcy. I'm cooling down now, but how funny is that? It just comes on, and then as quick as it comes on, it goes off again. So yes, all your links are there. Please hit Kristin up on all the social media and everything else, and check out her books. But remember to please leave Kristin a review, because reviews really matter and they really count. I had no idea how important they were until I became an author myself. So please do that. We got a quick question from Lychee. Do your book characters talk to you, Kristin? And if they do, have you had to change something in the book that you are writing at the time?
They never shut up. They never shut up. I've definitely had to change a few plot points because the characters went off the rails.
I know, right? They just go off on a tangent all by themselves and say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, it's worse when you're writing a series and you're like, I know where this series is going. And all of a sudden, you don't know where this series is going. You're 200 pages in and you're like, oh, no.
Oh, my God, it's fantastic. Kristin, could you do me a favor, darling? Could you post some of your book covers in the comments so people can just have a little look when you get a chance? Because your covers are fantastic. I think they're absolutely just epic. They just jump out at you when you're looking. Thank you so much for joining me, darling. And I can't wait to chat to you again. Maybe we can sort of aim for November, and then we can talk about your new release.
Sweet. I'll post some of my serialized fiction as well, because they've got some eye-catching covers too.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, darling. And thank you, everybody, for joining. Please keep updated as to all the interviews that are coming up. My apologies for the last couple that had to be cancelled. It's one of those things. We've got a pandemic going on. People feel poorly. You know, we just got to be accommodating and understanding, and I will reschedule those. But thank you, Kristin, and hopefully we will speak again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome, darling. I'll see you soon, darling.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.